In our last time together, we talked about overcoming emotions that destroy. And we learned that anger is neither good or bad. It's a neutral, emotionally charged emotion that God has given us for preservation or protection. And we respond to anger in many, many ways. And what we're going to learn today is that there's some positive ways to respond to anger and some negative ways. And in our book, Dr. Becca Johnson and I, we listed some common ways that people respond to anger. Because what we hear is people say, oh, I don't have an anger problem. Hey, we all deal with anger. Are you ready? Run with me on this. Just listen very carefully and think which of these apply to you. When people get angry, some shut down, some become assertive, authoritative, some get pushy and aggressive, some people yell, scream, shout, slam, belittle, slander. Others isolate, get depressed, suppress your feelings, repress, regress. Other people grab, hit, push, beat, kick, slap, or throw things. Other people become defensive, become withdrawn, become self-righteous. Others lie, cuss, withhold affection, whine. Now, I'm only down one of the lists. There's 50 different ways: spewing, threatening, manipulating, self-hatred, making excuses, getting discouraged, minimizing how it affects other people, giving people the silent treatment. All these are ways that we have learned in our childhood and over time to respond to anger. And here's what I want you to know. The Bible is absolutely clear. The Bible says, be angry and yet do not sin. Do not let the sun go down in your anger. That's Ephesians 4:26. So positively, God says anger is not a bad thing. There is a place for good anger. Jesus got very angry and he cleared the temple. Moses got very, very angry. He came down from the mountain with the 10 Commandments. And what did he see? He saw all this sin and the lack of respect for God and reverence and obedience. He throws down the commandments and it launches him into action. I have to tell you that good anger made a huge difference in my life. I remember being in a laundromat when I was a young pastor and we couldn't afford a washer and a dryer. And I was in the laundromat and, you put the quarters, in the machines and they never get dry. So I'm sitting there forever. And a lady comes in and she looks like she's, maybe not very clean and not taking care of herself. But there's a little baby, 18-month-old and a little disheveled, and they're looking. And she sits there and the little baby, 18-month-old picks up a piece of lint. And the lady yells at her, really mean. I thought, what's going on here? And so I sat and watched, and I'm a young pastor, and I don't think you ought to treat your kids like that, but who am I to say? And then the little kid went over and picked out something again. This lady explodes, grabs the kid by the arm like this, swings her, and hits her face into the dryer. I jump up out of my seat, and I said, ma'am, I'm telling you, I got this close to her. You touch that kid again, I'll knock you out. Now I'm thinking, this will not look good in the papers. Pastor decks woman in laundromat. And then, I got really, really upset, but that was anger. And let me tell you what happened. We all see injustice. I went home that night and I couldn't sleep. And the next night I woke up and I couldn't sleep. And the next night I woke up and I still couldn't sleep. And then I went down to the courthouse and I said, is this common? And I found out it was huge in our area that, there are all these kids that needed foster homes, and because of the area and some different circumstances culturally, this was just a huge problem. And so I said, well, what do you do about it? He said, well, we have this little committee, and it's a small town in rural Texas. Some of you might know what that's like. And so I go to this committee meeting, and I ask 5 or 6 questions about what's being done, and they say stuff like, well, there's not much we can do. And so what I ended up doing was I left that committee meeting and I had someone say, guess what? If you want to make a difference, why don't you join? And I did. And so I ended up the chairman. And now what I have to tell you is in the next 9 to 12 months, I recruited a handful of my friends and we got on that committee and we got the churches together and we developed a foster system, and every week a different church would get clothes or help. And then we came together and we built a shelter. And after we built a shelter, we created a place where kids got loved and moms got protected and people got help. All that happened because one guy got very, very mad. Anger can be a very good thing. Use your anger positively today. Attack injustice. Do something in the right way, in a loving and kind way. Tomorrow, we'll talk about what might happen when anger is in a negative way.